And I was about to spar, before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy.
A heavyweight.
Heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga, it hit him so hard that he was on the top of the ropes just like this.
Oh!
Speed, Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and, you know, have the lean muscle right, he can look fantastic somewhere in the mid-150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul.
When shocking unseen footage, Gervonta Tank Davis reportedly drops a heavyweight sparring partner while preparing for his upcoming showdown with Jake Paul. The clip captures Tank's signature power and flawless timing as he lands a devastating left hand that instantly ends the session. Fans are calling it undeniable proof that Davis's speed, accuracy, and knockout precision remain unmatched, even against fighters much bigger than him. View Showbiz. The adult predicts that Gervonta Davis will weigh in around 154 pounds. For his clash with Jake Paul, dismissing claims that Tank will be too small to compete. According to him, Davis has walked around that weight before, so it won't be unfamiliar territory. He even notes that Tank has trained at 160 pounds in the past, meaning the jump isn't as drastic as critics think. Showbiz emphasizes that Davis has spent years sparring with larger, heavier opponents, honing his reflexes, timing, and counterpunching against powerful hitters. That experience, combined with his explosive speed, fight IQ, and natural aggression, gives him a serious edge. Confident in his prediction, Showbiz boldly insists that Jake Paul's size advantage won't save him once Tank connects clean, declaring that Gervonta Davis will knock Jake Paul out with ease.
150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pit stop at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there. Especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have his guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base solid enough, so when Jake Paul hits him with those shots, he doesn't go flying around the ring.
Reports from camp reveal that Tank has once again been sparring with much bigger fighters to prepare for Jake Paul. But for Davis, this is nothing new. Since the early days of his career, he's tested himself against heavier opponents, using those sessions to sharpen his timing, precision, and composure. With his incredible punching power and elite ring IQ, Tank has never been intimidated by size. Instead, he turns it into an advantage, using speed, angles, and discipline to make bigger men look slow and vulnerable. Training. Clips show Gervonta Davis looking sharper, leaner, and more focused than ever before. Every punch he throws carries a perfect blend of power and precision. the result of years of discipline and refinement. His footwork is light, yet authoritative, and every strike against the heavy bag follows a calculated rhythm. Observers can see the intensity in his eyes and the seamless coordination between speed and strength. The footage alone speaks volumes about how locked in Davis is for this fight. Experts across the boxing world note that his conditioning looks the best it has in years, describing him as ready for war. As the build-up continues, one of the biggest debates remains the weight difference. Some believe Jake Paul's natural size gives him an edge, while others argue that Tank's skill set completely cancels it out. Many fans question whether the size gap could pose problems for Davis, but longtime supporters remind them that he's often faced and dominated bigger men before. They insist that boxing isn't about weight, it's about timing, intelligence, and precision. With his elite defensive movement and counter-punching ability, Tank remains one of the hardest puzzles to solve. His team believes his experience under pressure will allow him to use Jake's size against him. For Davis, this fight isn't about proving power, it's about proving mastery. Lamont Roach has recently spoken out about his tension with Gervonta Davis, claiming unresolved issues between them. His remarks have caught attention, with many analysts detecting a tone of bitterness. Some believe Roach's frustration stems less from conflict and more from jealousy over Tank's success, fame, and financial reach. The two once shared mutual respect, but now Roach's words sound personal. Observers suggest he struggles to accept how Davis continues to dominate headlines and secure massive paydays while others fade into the background. In boxing, money and fame often turn competition into resentment. Yet for Davis, these distractions mean little. He stays silent, focused, and lets his training speak louder than any words.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional records.
Boxing experts continue to argue that Gervonta Davis doesn't get the credit he deserves for his achievements. They point out that many of his opponents gain massive recognition after facing him, proving how influential he is in the sport. Fighters who were once unknown become global names simply because they shared the ring with Tank. This recurring pattern highlights his star power and ability to elevate anyone he fights. Critics who question his level of opposition are reminded that Davis's presence alone can define a career. Analysts emphasize that his victories go beyond knockouts. He's a fighter who carries the weight, influence, and attention of the entire boxing world every time he steps into the ring.
Off rip, the question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's gonna make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in this situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. That opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know that he actually exercised his rights to the rematch. So that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that unless you do what you have to do to handle the business, to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit here and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money, and I'm not supposed to get anything.